What's up, everybody? This is Liam Murphy, aka the Blazing Bishop. Today's video is going to be helpful for both beginner chess players and chess coaches who are teaching beginners. I'm going to show you guys the opening that I taught all of my students who were first starting out in chess. I was a chess coach at a school. I was tasked with teaching kids as young as 4.5. I was at an elementary school, and so I think this opening is the correct way to teach both, kids who are just taking a regular chess class and kids who hope to be tournament chess players one day. Now, the things that you want to stress, the first move we're going to have the kids play is e4. But what you want to stress here is that there's three main things that you must do at the start of an opening, and that is control the center of the chessboard, develop your pieces. And when we're talking about pieces, pawns do not count. So we're talking about your knights and your bishops mostly. And the third thing is castling your king. So we're playing e4. And what I would highlight here is that e4 not only develops a piece, but it also attacks a center square. It controls e4 itself because you have a piece there. So you're controlling two center squares. It allows your bishop to move. And if your bishop moves, you're one step closer to castling. So it does all three things that you must do at the start of a chess game in one move. The move we would have black do is e5. Again, controlling the center, allowing the dark squared bishop to move. White's next move would be knight to f3. And I want to pause here and just say that not every single move in this first opening is going to be the computer-approved best move. None of the moves are mistakes or blunders, but it's more about having the kids think about getting their pieces out, developing their pieces, and getting their king castled. So knight f3, I would say the knight, I would ask a kid first, where can this knight go to attack the center of the board? Hopefully they say the move f3. You may even want to highlight why knight h3 is not a great move. They say knights on the rim are dim. Being if a light bulb was above your head, you want that light bulb bright, meaning you have good ideas, not dim, meaning it's off. So knight f3, you are developing a piece, you are controlling the center, and you are one step closer to castling. The knight is attacking the pawn on e5, so the move we want black to do is knight to c6, developing a knight and controlling the center of the chessboard. White's next move we want them to do is bishop to c4, developing a piece, attacking the center, and allowing the king to castle next turn. I would also like to highlight, I would ask the kids, what else is the bishop attacking here? And really what you want them to notice is that the bishop is attacking the f7 pawn, which we call a weakness in black's camp. The reason why the f pawns are weak for the white king and black king is that only the kings defend these pawns at the start of the chess game, and the kings are terrible defenders. So what you want black to do here is you want them to play the move bishop c5, especially as a beginner. You do not want kids to play knight f6 because they're going to fall into the fry liver with moves like knight g5, where the bishop and knight are piling up on f7. It's really hard to defend as an absolute beginner to chess. So I would always ask my kids just to play bishop c5. We're not going to learn the fry liver. We're not going to discuss it. You play bishop c5. And, the bishop attacks the center. You're one step closer to castling. What we want white to do here is we want them to castle. If kids are castling early in their chess games or beginners, they're unlikely to lose right away, meaning that they get to learn for a longer period of time. The king castled over here. I would call the king an old man when I was talking to children, and kind of like their grandfather. He's not a fighting piece. He's a piece you want to hide in the corner of the chessboard. Here we would ask, well, black wants to castle. Why can't they? And so you want them to say, oh, but the knight's in the way. And so the knight we want to go to f6. You've developed a piece, you are attacking the center, and you're allowing your king to castle, doing all three things that you must do at the start of a chess game in one move. I would ask the kids, what is the knight attacking, and how can we develop a piece to defend this pawn? I always wanted the kids to play knight c3 here. Obviously, d3 is a fine move. It defends the pawn. But I want them to get the idea that you develop pieces, and the knight on c3 is a fantastic piece. It defends the center and attacks a center square, and it defends your undefended pawn. Here, we want, black is able to castle, so I wanted the kids to castle here. And then I would ask the kids, have we finished developing all of our knights and bishops? Chess is a war, right? And the only way you can win wars is if you get your soldiers out. Obviously, no, we have not. So I'd ask them, okay, what move can you make to allow the bishop to get out? Obviously, the move is b3 or d3. We want the kids to be playing d3, creating a pawn chain here because the d pawn further controls the center and allows your bishop to come out on this diagonal, potentially pinning the knight. Here, I wanted my kids to recognize that the bishop on c1 can now develop and pin the knight. And as black, you do not want this bishop to come to g5 and pin your knight. So I wanted my kids to play h6. So even in kindergarten, we were learning we are not allowing our pieces to get pinned. Obviously, the kids had been in class for me for a while. They knew how the pieces moved at this point. I touched on a little bit of tactics, but as far as rather than having kids just make random moves at the start of games like h4, a4, b4, I wanted them to start, having these ideas of attacking the center and developing their pieces. So I wanted my kids to play h6 here, preventing this pin. Let's look at what happens if they don't. Let's just say they play a move like d6, kind of normal. White plays bishop g5, and then whatever. Black plays a move like a6. Well, here, white can play the move knight d5, putting pressure on the pin piece. And this is annoying for black. And let's just say black plays the worst move on the board, like h6. This looks normal. You're giving the bishop a kick. Well, here, white would capture the knight with check. The queen is not allowed to capture, so the pawn must take back. And then the bishop takes on h6, getting a free pawn. And how I would talk about this to kids is, let's say they didn't even play h6, whatever. Let's just give them a nothing move like b6, and the same thing happens. And then whatever, they save their rook. The way I would talk about this here is this is bad for black because the king has a half-open file to him. And I would say, well, the king wants, the pawns in front of the king are your doors. Let's imagine that there's hungry bears outside of your cabin. Would you want the door open or closed to your cabin? Of course, you want the doors closed, right? But in here, the doors have been open, making it very unsafe for the king. The king could maybe be checkmated by if the queen came to f3, g3, and then g7. So we do not want to get in the practice of allowing our king to be ripped open when he castles. So that is why we played the move h6. And here I would have, we want to develop this bishop. Obviously, there's two acceptable squares. I would just have my kids do e3. If they played d2, that's also fine with me. I wasn't that rigid with this move. And for black, I want them to notice that their bishop is undefended. So two moves were acceptable for me here. They could either take this bishop, allowing the pawn to capture back, or they could play bishop b6, saying that if you take my bishop, I'm going to take with the a pawn, allowing my rook to open up. I've captured toward the center. So I wanted my kids to play either bishop b6 or captures. Let's just say bishop b6 here. Here I would point out that we're not finished developing. Our rooks like to be connected chess pieces, and they are not right now. So the queen needs to move. And so I like my kids to play queen d2 with a queen and bishop battery here. And then I would ask, has black finished developing? No, they need to get their bishop out. So they need to play the move d6. And similar to how we did not want to allow this knight to be pinned as black, I wanted my kids to play h3 here. Just again, even though it's not a pin here because there's nothing behind the knight can move. Just giving that king a little bit of loft and getting the concept of prophylaxis, aka trying to stop what your opponent's trying to do early in a chess career. So we play an h3 to stop the bishop from developing to g4. Black would then develop their bishop. And again, white has the same options. Either captures or goes to b3. We'll throw them on b3 here. We'll have black develop their queen. And then I wanted my kids to put the rooks on the D and E files. pointing out that rooks like open files, and the center of the chessboard is the most likely place to be open. So like rook a d1, rook a d8, rook fe1, rook fe8. And here I would, ask the younger kids to take out a camera and get some pictures. Click, 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 click. Obviously, kids would not learn this one time and know it for life. Especially when I was teaching, 40 kindergartners at once, we would drill this quite a bit until someone got it down. But this is how I believe a very helpful way that you can teach beginners chess, and really hammering home the opening principles that beginners should be focusing on at the start of their chess games. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you did. Goodbye.